Ladies and gentlemen, today our guest on the Women Leaders in Petchem series, Insights with Nidhi Verma, is Ekta Mahesh Chandan, Director, Trimurti Group and Founder, Aaum Pro Paper Products, logging in from Bangalore. Ekta is an MBA in entrepreneurship from Babson College, US, and lives in Bangalore. Ekta, a very warm welcome to my show today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me over. It's a pleasure.
Mahesh Chandan started the company in 1977. He used to sell newspapers at the Matunga station at Mumbai for earning a little pocket money when he was a student, and then started selling scrap. After that, he started selling polymer granules, saw more value in converting, and started selling polybags. In 92, when riots hit Mumbai, he moved from Sivri to Bangalore, as the most of the government people which he was servicing were shifting there. Then he found a partner there, and as they say, rest is history. He never looked back. Today, the Trimurti Group has 11 plants with over 1,000 employees and turnover of over 200 crores INR. His story is one of grit, hard work, persistence, and a true inspiration for all the youth. Ekta, you have very big shoes to fill in. You have been in the business for over 15 years. All your experience has been in business all these years. How did you start? What did you first grapple when you started working?
So Dad was very clear. Get a reality check. He says, go do sales. That's the best way you will know the world. So that's where I started my journey from, where I was catering to the international clients. And after which I took a couple of years break for my master's. And once I was back, I told Dad I would prefer to handle one vertical independently and get experiment what I really need to with whatever I've studied. So he says, you have a good platform over here. We have a corrugating unit, which has always been like sideline and a small setup. And it isn't doing really well. Why don't you just go take a charge of it and let's see what you have to experiment with and what you can do with it.
Excellent.
So
And I understand that you turned it around, right? And how?
yes,
5x times.
so it was a tough journey coming right out of a B school, wanting to having learned some new concepts, but in a small space. Instances while turning around where you have to choose between the losses.
Mm.
There was a point in time where I had to choose between keeping a company shut for a day and losing X amount versus taking the order at a loss and losing maybe a fraction of an X, but you're still losing. So now then I had to start taking decisions between, okay, let's minimize the loss. So we started with minimizing losses and then slowly with time turned it around. It took about 3 years because all the machinery, everything had to be revamped. So and one thing in all of this, my dad clearly said, I'm not going to give you a penny and you're not allowed to raise funds from the bank.
Oh my
So
God.
that was a tough one, but and which is why it took 3.5 years, being a smaller setup. But I think the journey was the most memorable one in my career life.
I think Maheshji exactly knew what he was teaching you, and you did pass the litmus test with flying colors. So well done there. You worked in administrative management jobs. When it's coming from the family, I never would think that you would have lack of encouragement. But did you feel the glass ceiling when you were working without outsiders, being a woman?
Um, I'm quite blunt on answering few things, and I would not shy away. Yes, there are differences, and it certainly does not come in from the family members who know you well, but it does come. Just to have two simple examples to be shared. This was when I had started again into the corrugation industry, and this was one thing where even dad didn't have an experience much about. So he says, you are coming with new ideas. I said, the first thing I need to do is hire a right person over there and let me bring in a person with the experience from the background. She was a very mid-age to senior age person, and I was really seeking to blend the two things, but it never went that way. For him, he never looked at me as a team member. For him, I'm a lady boss, and he was not comfortable as a lady boss. And yeah, there were some times, and finally, after like 3 to 6 months of dealing with all of that, I told dad, this is what it is. He's like, okay, let me do one day. I want to give a fair chance, not just because you're my daughter, I will go with it. He came down to the carton unit. He spoke to both of us for like an hour or so, and he was just talking casual business, just understanding the business approaches and everything. There was no conversation of any issues or anything. And he says, yeah, Ekta, you're right. I can sense that he's not going to accept anything of a new idea just because it's coming from you. Had the same idea been coming from somebody else, maybe he would be open to. So that was one incident when I faced this. And it's quite sad, but even 2 years back, very recently, this happened with a very big corporate in Bombay. I would not name the corporate, but the junior person actually just came and told me, uh, why don't you come for your next meeting with your father or your brother, because their personality will throw some seniority. And I said, okay, fine, if you wish to, we could do that. But it did give me a pinch back, because even if I had gone with my brother is younger to me. So I didn't know where and what seniority they meant, but I just left it to it.
But the glass ceiling is not a myth, it is a reality. It is a reality. We may like to overlook it and fight it
It is
and go
absolutely
around
a
it.
reality.
It's a reality. Agreed.
I said it's life becomes easier once you accept the realities.
Very well. When we know it's
Try
there,
fighting around it, it's no sense.
perfectly well.
Accept and keep moving it.
Absolutely. Agreed. There seemed to be an element of wisdom, and kudos to Maheshji again, because of the thought process that he had, that the Trimurti Group is a very well diversified. You're into flexible, you're into rigid, you're into paper. Of course, garments, you're servicing the industry very well for many decades now, which could be conflicting. But when one or the other will always have growth, either of them will always have growth. Why is it that we do not plan a consolidation of a business and expanding the capacity at one place? Doesn't that strategic decision ever come on the table? It gives you economies of scale for sure.
Okay, so let me tell you, one growing over the other. We actually started off as a polybag unit. That's the core area. Our customers loved our service. They said, why don't you please give us even the plastic hangers? We said, okay, it's plastic. We started with it. They loved the consistency. They said, please give us corrugates. We are happier to do the buy it from you. So I actually tell that it's customers who made us a one-stop packaging solution company versus a strategic decision. So in the same way, when we are talking of consolidation, the good thing about us is we have things consolidated. Like a laminate division is majorly focused only in Bangalore, so it still gives us the economies of scale. At the same time, our products are diversified. Like our injection molding is majorly in Daman, and we had to create some capacities in South to cater the South market more easily. So it gave us advantages of being local or ease of reach to people. So that's how it is. So as far as economies of scale are concerned, we are positioned well. And we also have an advantage because you have seen the markets from being local to domestic, and now it's a global market. Anything that there were times when people used to travel to US to get few products, but today you can just go on amazon.com, global shipping, and it just comes through you. So the world is becoming so localized, globalized and localized, that having a one point has never occurred. Have consolidated setups eventually are ending up with 3PL services for having a localized thing. So I don't see why we should go in the reverse direction now.
Well understood. Ekta, between the garments, flexible packaging, rigid packaging, corrugated paper, how do you see the future, and which vertical you think is going to kind of has the maximum growth going forward?
I think all three verticals are brilliant. Uh, and all three verticals have phenomenal growth. It's about what we are geared up to grab an opportunity. So if you ask us in corrugation, we are too small. So kind of for us, that's always been, you can say a unit where we would have not invested much or not really taken it too aggressively. So that definitely loses out the thing. But if you ask me, as on today, corrugate box industry has a bigger market because that's finally becoming a more professional area. And versus if you look into the plastics, there is so much of R&D happening to make the plastic packaging more greener. So you cannot avoid plastic, but let's try making plastic which is more like a recyclable structure. So instead of having a pet poly, people are moving towards a poly. So if you look at the growth opportunity, it's immense. It's what you focus on and what you grab and what you grow. Market is too big.
Understood. I belong to the plastic fraternity. So my question for you is that don't you see paper packaging in terms of environmental hazards as we see with consumption of water, chemicals, global warming? What is your opinion on that?
A very good question, firstly. For me, it's like choosing between which child is better. And trust me, the answer is both of them are fantastic. First, second thing, if you ask me, there is a study in Europe where the forest footprint has doubled over the past 30 years because the European government came up with a law that for every tree that you cut for making a paper, you have to plant three, which has led to the increase in size of the forest area and eventually leading to a better environment. So it's always a mix. Looking at plastic, I follow Sadhguru, and like he rightly said, plastic is a miraculous material. You can recycle this material n number of times without losing its properties. And if we go back to a data, try collecting the data and accumulating as to how much food wastage the plastic has saved, I think there is no count on it. I mean, the number would just run in billions and trillions. It's huge. Otherwise, a lot of food without being packed rightly or without having the right barrier properties would have gone to landfills doing nothing. So, if you ask plastic, poly, I think it's more about choosing the right or picking the right, adapting the right product for packaging what is required. So, if you look at the fruits and vegetables, I would say that probably plastic would not allow the fruits and vegetable to breathe, which paper allows. But at the same time, paper has chemicals, and if you leave it for too long, it can catch fungus also. So the clear winner is something else altogether, and that's where we see a third product like compostable coming in, compostable plastics. So it's about picking a right fit. Plastic cannot do all packaging. You cannot have paper doing all the packaging. It's about choosing the right mix.
The balance. How do you see the growth in the e-commerce vertical?
Does that really need a mention? We all know how fast Amazon and Flipkarts are growing. Their growth stories are totally unimaginable. So, factoring that, e commerce is just booming. But there is a lot of change in packaging that even the e-commerce is really focusing on and working on. They are putting a lot of effort in minimizing the packaging so that it's a greener environment. So now they are asking the primary packaging to be sturdy enough to ensure that the same can be used for e-commerce, and we don't need an additional layer of it. So I think it's a very interesting industry to be in, and there's a lot of change happening. So it's fun to be a part of the change.
Agreed. And there's going to be so much of product innovation of how you package, as you mentioned that, and we'll see a lot of that coming from the Trimurti Group also. Um, Ekta, what I observed is that you use your middle name as your father's name, which is very unique. I'm really proud of it. I'm sure I also want to use my father's name as the middle name, which I've not seen too much in our industry. The next generation, which is you and Puneet, they are young Turks who are taking business hands on. Is there any difference in management philosophies between you and Puneet and between the first generation, between Maheshji and Nareshji?
So see, each individual is different. Having different opinions is a great thing, and yes, we all have very different opinions. But the good thing is we complement each other. We have learned the art of agree to disagree. We have learned the art of giving each other space, And we are a typical Guju family who loves their jalebi with fafra and raw papaya, spicy raw papaya salad. So unless we have a mix of sweet with spice and something salty, we don't enjoy anything.
I love the way you've explained it. I'm going to remember it whenever I'm mostly my industry is good juice. So yes, this is going to be really handy for me. Thank you for sharing that. Um, Ekta, we all know that it is writing on the wall, but now the government has actually come up almost to be converted into regulation of 50 to 125 microns thickness of polybag. What is your view on this?
So it's good and bad both. So I think it's good because that would make the picking up of plastic and getting it recycled a lot more better, undoubtedly. But that also will come with its challenges, because having everything in 125 micron, imagine a small packet of grains in 125 micron, you're going to have a tough time sealing it. People will have to change all their machineries. So the packing pressure required, and so it's a mixed bag. I don't see this as a bad thing, but like I said, they really need to pick on what it needs to be used. It's about creating a right balance. Now starting to have 125 micron as your jabla bag, what do you call it, the t-shirt bag or your garbage bag, is a crime in my opinion. But at the same time, using 125 micron of a plastic carry bag for shopping malls is a good idea. So it is something which, and if I'm not mistaken, this is still a draft regulation and not like a regulation out there. So I think it's better. Let's wait and watch till it's a published notification, because you really never know what happens when.
Yes, yes, but they come sooner than you think, especially in Maharashtra. Ekta, with the SUP, like hopefully we should be at the end of COVID. This second wave is another terror, but hopefully we are all vaccinated. The focus on the SUP regulations will again come back where we left, in March 2020. What are you contemplating? Any change in processes, any change in programs, machinery to take care of what other on upcoming SUP bans or regulations maybe? Any changes that you've planned?
So we are well aware this could happen, but we cannot ignore plastics completely. Whenever disaster kicks in, plastics come back. When COVID came in, plastics came back with a bigger bang. When there are floods in Kerala, Kerala is the first state to write, please send material in plastic bags. So plastic is not going anywhere. And single-use plastic, the applications may change, but still it is not going anywhere. But yeah, as far as changes are concerned, we are geared up with having a certification for compostable plastic. And we are into paper also now. So we are geared up on all the areas wherever the application is right, we just go with it.
Thank you for sharing that, Ekta. And I'm very convinced that your group, that is the Trimurti Group, has a very great future with you and, of course, Puneet at the helm of affairs now in the coming years. And we do look forward for more opportunities to work together for the success of our packaging industry. And together, let's move the glass ceiling a little more higher. Thank you so much for this rendezvous. I really enjoyed it. And we're looking forward to have you with us physically when we are having our Flexible Packaging Summit physical edition on the 1st and 2nd of September. Till then, we say bye to you and we'll stay connected.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye bye.